us about South Africa. Our first question is, how did the wine industry begin in South Africa?
We love this question because there is such rich history in the different regions of South Africa and their wine industry. So we would love to share some of this with you today. The rich history of South Africa wine began in 1652 at the Cape, when Jan van Riebeeck recommended to the Dutch East India Company that the Cape had suitable grape growing climates. From there, a shipment of grapevine cuttings, mainly from France, were sent and arrived to South Africa, where the first vineyards were planted. And then in 1659, the first wine was produced. So this successful attempt inspired the free burghers. They were servants of the company who had been freed and were free to farm their own land now. So they got vine cuttings that were distributed amongst them, and they moved inland to plant new vineyards and forge a future for themselves as wine farmers. The governor of the Cape, Simon van der Stel, became involved, and with his help, the quality of the wine improved immensely. Simon van der Stel soon after bought Grootkrans Stenosia and made it into a model wine estate, and he also established Stellenbosch, the first settlement inland from Cape Town. The Cloet family bought Grootkrans Stenosia in the late 18th century.
And it's actually interesting, the wines of this estate filled the glasses of many famous people, including Frederick of Prussia, Jane Austen, and Napoleon Bonaparte too. So,
Wow.
when the French wine trade was cut off from England as a result of the wars, England looked to the Cape for sweet wine, ports, and sherries, bringing great wealth to the colony. 1885 brought hardships to wine farmers, and louse like aphids destroyed most of the wines in South Africa. Realizing that North American vines were immune to this, they actually went to North America and grafted the vines from there, brought them to South Africa, and this actually created an overproduction in what they had already grown. Unfortunately, many farmers went bankrupt because of this. A breakthrough happened in 1863 by Louis Pasteur, with his discovery that every stage of wine-making process could be controlled. In 1905, the first cooperative system was established in an effort to rescue the wine industry that was crippled by overproduction, as well as the hardships of war and economic stress. This replaced the traditional trend of farmers competing as a system of collective bargaining and marketing, and allows machinery and technology knowledge to be pooled. In 1918, the KWV was formed to act as authority for the cooperation, and later would turn into a company structure, experimenting with producing their own wine and spirits.
And then in 1935, the Stellenbosch Farmers Winery was founded by an American doctor, William Charles Winshaw. Winshaw started producing wine as a former doctor and now converted winemaker, so he concentrated mainly on natural wine as he believed it to be a healthier drink. With the launch of the dry white Liberstein wine, sales soared to record highs. Liberstein became the world's largest selling branded wine at this time. Soon, Stellenbosch Farmers Winery became the producer and marketer of a large range of natural and fortified wine and spirits. In 1979, the most important merger in wine history occurred, restructuring the liquor industry involving the distillers, Stellenbosch Farmers Winery, and its imported product subsidiary, Henry Taylor and Rice, merged and became co-subsidiaries of what was then called Cape Wine and Distillers. However, in 1988, Cape Wine and Distillers was put to an end. So today, the distillers and Stellenbosch wineries are complete separate companies, and the South African breweries, Rembrandt and KWV, each have 30% shares in these companies. But we'll touch on that a little bit more later on.
As you've heard, there's a lot that has had to happen in order to bring you to the wine you know today from South Africa, and each little part plays a big role.
All right, so another question that is often asked about South African wines is, what varietals are South Africa famous for? Maybe you can take this one away?
Absolutely. South Africa isn't particularly famous for one kind of wine. The top 5 grape varieties grown and produced are the Chenin Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Combard, Shiraz, and Sauvignon Blanc. South Africa produces 54% white wine and 45.4% red wine. In particular, Pinot Noir, a red wine making up 7.4% of the wine varietal, is indigenous to South Africa, and we actually have an example of that. This is the grinder, and this is from the region of Par, and it's a Pinot Noir which is indigenous to South Africa.
Great, thank you once again, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Introducing the next revolution in beauty. Get ready to experience a whole new you.
It's you, perfected.
Say goodbye to fine lines and wrinkles and hello to full lips, sparkling eyes, and lashes that never end. And that's just the beginning. Transform your look the way celebrities do with this beauty industry secret that's now available for the first time ever. Introducing Photoshop by Adobe. Finally look the way you've always dreamed. The difference is clear. Just one application of Photoshop can give you results so dramatic, they're almost unrealistic. Use Healing Brush to target blemishes at their source by simply erasing them. ProPixel Intensifying Botanical Hydrojargon Microbead Extract infused with nutritive volumizing technology will leave your face virtually unrecognizable.
My skin feels like plastic.
Take control of your color with Hue Saturation. Use this breakthrough formula to change hair, skin color, brighten eyes, whiten teeth, even adjust your race. Tired of fighting with your shape? Wish you could be a total knockout? Dial in the perfect you with Liquify. Reshape your body without the expense and mess of surgery. Why eat healthy and exercise when you can just look like you do? And the best part is,
It won't rub off.
the results don't lie. Pictures like this are all Photoshop. The celebrity beauty secret used in virtually every major magazine is now available to you. You don't have to rely on a healthy body image or self-respect anymore.
Now that's the power of Photoshop.
There's only one way to look like a real cover girl. Photoshop by Adobe.
Maybe she's born with it.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Photoshop.
Awesome, I think we should crack open a bottle of wine.
Absolutely.
Maybe this one.
Okay.
Maybe this will be best by itself.
I agree. We can just do like little snippets of us, like.
We can just do like just a tiny
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Maybe.
Great, so we are going to try this Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot.
So it's actually a blend, and it's from South Africa. The brand is called Two Oceans, and it's actually come from that name because it comes from the bottom of South Africa, the south point, and it's actually where the two oceans meet, hence the name Two Oceans.
So we have some for our audience here as well, so wait for the servers to come around and you can have a little taste.
Awesome. So we'll just move right along as they're getting served the Two Oceans wine. Okay. So our next question: why do these varietals thrive? Take it away.
So these varietals thrive because of the unique climate and geography of South Africa. Most of the Cape's wine growing regions are influenced by two mighty oceans, the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean. Combine beneficial maritime influences like coastal fog and cooling sea breezes with moderate Mediterranean climate, distinctive and varied topography, and diverse soils, you then have the ideal climate and conditions for which to create wines of unique character and complexity. For example, the South African wine Two Oceans, which we're having a taste of right now, comes from the Cape region and stands on the platforms for sales of crafted by the African sun and cool sea breeze. The cold, refreshing waves of the Atlantic Ocean collide with the warm, inviting waters of the Indian Ocean. A unique climate is formed, and therefore a unique blend. South Africa also has the benefits of inland growing too, so many influences create so much diversity amongst wine types in South Africa.
Absolutely. Our next question is: what famous wine houses are there in South Africa?
So we will talk about the top 3 regions and a couple of famous wines that each produce. So the first is Stellenbosch Vineyards, which is close to my heart as I have worked there for the past 10 years. And Stellenbosch Vineyards is one of the leading wine producers and exports in South Africa, as well as being the most internationally recognized. In this region, Cabernet Sauvignon is the most widely planted grape variety and is often combined with Merlot to create Bordeaux blend wines. South Africa and Stellenbosch in particular has become a new world leader in terroir research, being carried out at the ARC Institute of Viticulture and Oncology in Stellenbosch as well as University of Stellenbosch. Second, Constantia Valley. This region is a high tourist destination offering award-winning restaurants and much more. The wine estates offer an array of experiences such as year-round tasting, picnics, live music and festivals in the warmer months. Constant is the oldest wine producing region in the South African hemisphere.
And I'm just going to add a third one onto that, which is Paarl. This region is home to some of South Africa's leading corporate cellars. And the top 5 wineries they actually have there is Borland Cellar, Fairview Wines, KWV Wines, Netterberg Wines, and Windmill Cellar. Although South Africa only produces 4.2% of the world's wines, they are making wonderful, unique wines and blends. We can note that the growth in contribution to the GDP of South Africa has been at least 10% per annum since 2003, showing the increase in the wine industry in South Africa.
To wrap up our show here this morning, we'll end with just one last question that we often get from our viewers, no matter what the region, and that is, how does the region's cuisine influence the wine? That is, what influences does the traditional South African food have on the different varietals of wine produced? And which wines pair best with certain South African dishes? This is such a fun question because pairing the right wine with the meal is so important, and I'm sure that Kayla has some professional insight to share with us on this.
Yes, pairing wine with food correctly is so important because it has a significant impact, allowing you and your guests to experience much more from your meal. From my education as well as my trips to South Africa, it's my understanding that the most common foods in South Africa include seafood, fruits and veggies, sausage, and rice, with most meals having been seasoned and resulting in really bold flavors. To begin, seafood is a popular food in South Africa, with the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean on either side of the country. The fresh, crisp, young, zesty Chenin Blanc pairs exceptionally well with all kinds of fresh seafood, including crab, prawns, and most particularly oysters. It also pairs with spring vegetables and salads. Medium-bodied, smooth, and old vine Chenin Blanc, made more in the style of an unoaked Chardonnay or a Pinot Blanc, will work well with scallops, fish cakes, or cooked dishes with egg. South Africa's unique flavor, Pinot Noir, is a deep red wine tinged with spicy notes of tobacco, fruity undertones of cherry, raspberry, and banana, which is the ideal match for a hot curry, spicy barbecue, or robust meat.
So I hope everyone now feels inspired to go home and cook a traditional South African meal and pair it with one of the amazing wines that we just talked about. Trust me, it's so worth it.
And well, that wraps up for today, but we look forward to next week when we will be discussing Italian wines.
Great. Have a great week, everyone.